Hello, good afternoon. My name is Abril Medina Cruz, and this is my final video. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation I have prepared for this last lesson. So I'm going to give an overall review of this last chapter, chapter 4, detail of formal, informal, and self-assessment techniques. And I'm going to point out some special points from this chapter, and then I'm going to give you an overall review of all the units and some conclusions about testing and assessment. So this is the chapter 4, detail of formal, informal, and self-assessment techniques. Well, the informal assessment is a way of collecting information about our students' performance in normal classroom conditions or situations, context. Informal assessment is referred to as continuous assessment. It is done over a period of time according to Harris, 1994. What does that mean? Well, nowadays it's very sound that we have to evaluate or assess every day, not only with a test or not only with exam, but with what the student does every day. The participation, speaking, the listening, all the activities that they have day by day. We have another kind of assessment like band scales. These band scales include some divisions, and it's not, it's not a rule, but you can have some possible student performance. And we have two types, the holistic, that are the ones that British Council gave us. These scales give overall description of ability. Student performance is matched to one of the bands, as I told you in the the European framework, like A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. We have some descriptions that it's supposed that the student must cover. And the analytic scales that separate out aspects of language performance into individual scales, giving a profile of performance. The self-assessment, I think that this is a kind of assessment that we as students in EXPRO are very, very used to, because we are self-students, no? So we have many learners develop informal self-assessment devices to monitor their progress. Learners can design their own tests or use those written by others. They can also use placement testing and achievement testing. In my personal case, for example, I have been studying by myself since I was in high school. I did the high school, like we call in Mexico, prepa abierta. So I used to buy my own books and study for the subjects. And of course, I chose some exercises or some tests from other books or from internet to check that I have learned what I was supposed to learn, or to monitor my progress. When I prepare, for example, the IELTS exam, I buy a guide, a book called Common Mistakes in IELTS and How to Avoid Them. And this little book has 3 lessons and 1 exam, 3 lessons and 1 exam. And that worked out for me amazing, because I could study and I could measure my progress unit by unit. And at the end, I had a general exam of IELTS. And the formal assessment, we have some discrete points techniques, including transformation, completion, combination, addition in grammar, rearrangement, correct or incorrect, that it's true or false, matching elements, dual choice, or multiple choice. Okay, my conclusion about all the units, it's that it's very important to assess in testing. Why is it important to assess in testing? Well, I think, or I believe, that the purpose of assessment and testing is to determine to what extent the quality goals set in the standards are being met, associated with the learning that students are expected to achieve as they go through school or self-study. As I was telling you, It's to measure your progress, is to measure that you are achieving your goals, your learning goals. No, and it's also to observe the strengths and the weaknesses. We have another point here to conclude. Assessment and testing offer possibilities to strengthen and consolidate learning, as well as the achievement of objectives or purposes in any field of study. Assessment makes it possible to show what are the priority needs that must be addressed, and from the educational perspective, it must show congruence between knowledge and performance. This formula is what can guide education towards the so-called quality. It means that assess and testing can give us another view. Another view, you can see the possibilities to improve our learning and to improve our teaching. And this can help us to have meaningful learning. How to make testing more productive? Well, I think that firstly, we must be clear about what testing is. Secondly, you have to take into account the following aspects. Why to evaluate, what to evaluate, when to evaluate, who will evaluate, and how to evaluate. So I think that this subject in general gave us a big view of how to evaluate. Why is it important? No, because I can see in some schools and in general in Mexican education that we just have to present test. No, exams and exams and exams. And I cannot agree with this, because in some cases the schools give a lot of percentage to the exam, and in my personal perspective, I cannot evaluate with just one exam. I mean, an exam doesn't tell me anything about the student and the progress. I cannot evaluate all the month with just one exam. I can measure that. I don't know. Maybe if the student has any difficult topic, or if I have to return to re-explain that topic, or I can see a lot of points, but I cannot base all the grade of my student with just one exam. That's my point. So I think it's necessary to know when to evaluate, why to evaluate, and what percentage of all the grade we are going to give to that exam. In my case, I prefer the alternatives to testing, like, for example, continuous assessment. As the reading mentioned now, that we are aware of which students are doing a big effort and which ones don't. We are always assessing, like in the speaking, writing, listening, reading, and this is intuitively. We can see every day the performance and difficulties of our students, and we are aware of the attitudes and how much they are participating in classroom or how much they don't. So I think that we have to carry out a systematic observation, work out what we are going to assess, establish criteria for assessing, and link the informal assessment with the formal assessment. I mean, we have to mix the continuous assessment with the test, and also with self-assessment. We cannot believe that we as teachers are going to give all the knowledge to our students just because we are very great teachers. They need to have this facility, this attitude to learn. I mean, and they have to practice by themselves. So we have other activities, like, for example, portfolio, active and productive projects, such as the ones that I usually do, creating videos, like, for example, cooking videos, I don't know, exercising videos, make a theatrical performance. And in this last year, I made a judgment, and it was amazing. All the group participated, and all of them spoke, and it was a great activity. Write a narrative text, like, for example, a story. We create an anthology, all the groups together, they create an anthology. create an educational podcast of the students, and especially teenagers. They love this kind of activities. These kind of activities are very entertaining for them and interesting, because all of the teenagers nowadays want to be TikTokers or YouTubers or something like that. So they love this kind of activities. Organize an escape room, edit a video or visual outline, organize a very experiential exhibition. I use this a lot. Like, for example, cultures around the world, they can organize exhibitions. They have to dress with the typical clothes and prepare, I don't know, a special dish and present a stand. And it's amazing to do this kind of activities. Create a board game. I do it frequently. Host a discussion, like, for example, a very controversial topic, like, I don't know, abortion or adoption, or I don't know, these kind of topics that are very, very controversial nowadays. And manage an educational social network, maybe an Instagram. They can submit some pictures and activities and post some comments, and they are producing the language. And my references. So I think in general, it was amazing to learn and to know what assessment is, what testing is, and how to use it. I think it's a very, very big topic and difficult, because we are just used to prepare an exam and the student just have to present it, but we don't know why to do it. We don't know how to apply it, how to grade it. No, I mean, we are just used to this, but we don't know the background of testing. And we need to know we need to use other tools to evaluate, other tools to assess. We must be open-minded to new alternatives of testing. No, I really don't, I don't agree to just leave all the grade to an exam. Okay, well, this is my video. I hope you like it, and I hope I have covered all the points. Thank you for watching.